So today we've got a really special opportunity. We are in a very new location. Where are we, Kristy?
We're in Rio de Janeiro. We're on holidays and without the kids. And this is absolutely mind-blowing for us. And we thought it'd be a really good opportunity to talk about being Dan and Kristy. And, you know, this doesn't happen all the time. We don't go to Rio every day. We don't go to Rio every year.
I wish.
We go to Rio the first time, this is our first time and only time. You know, it was a special occasion. Dan's cousin got married on the weekend and we wanted to be here, so we made it happen. And we'll talk about how we made that happen a little bit later in this segment. But we want to talk about how we are still ourselves in our relationship. When we go on date nights, when we go away for short periods of time, and when we go away for longer periods of time. And there's a whole lot of things that have to be in place for us to be able to do that.
And we're going to talk about some real examples of where we've done that. Yes, we're in Rio right now, and yes, it is amazing, but there's a lot of things that have led up to that. And then we've had a few other examples. So we wanted to just talk a little bit about how we get to those points, what we put in place to make sure that they happen, and why they're so important. I think that's the really big thing about today, is that they are so crucial to your relationship. And you forget about that lots when you're looking after your kids, when you're surviving and trying to make money and trying to live a good life. You kind of forget about those things and you think, no, we can't do that. We've got too many other things on, or there's too many other more important things that we should do. But it is so important. And having been many days in now, we realize how important it is. And so we thought it was a great opportunity to really talk a little bit about it and some other things that we've done, not as extravagant. So please don't think we're like that. We are not that couple. We wish we were. We would love to be living that life. We are not those people. This is a very, very special opportunity for us. And that's why we wanted to talk about it, because it's not a thing that happens once a year for us where we do those type of things. It is very much a one-off special opportunity, but it's really important to celebrate and talk about it. And I think there's lots of things to learn about it as well.
Yeah.
So let's get into it.
Yeah. So today we're going to be talking about our first time away from the kids, date nights, short trips away to reset, to recalibrate, and then those longer trips away, which we haven't had very many, which is understandable. But, something like this, I thought it was important to share how we do that. So I want to start talking about dating as a married couple. And, often people don't do that because once they're married, we're married, that's awesome. We're done. Whereas keeping the spark alive, keeping the date nights going, keeping the flirting happening in your relationship is really important to keep that passion and keep that excitement in your relationship.
Yeah, and this is such a cliche, isn't it? Like, you hear this from all those cool couples, like, oh, we have these cool date nights and it's so much fun. And, I guess I want to ground it and say that, don't think this is all, you got to go to the best restaurant, you got to fully dress up and things like that. Yeah, that's really nice. But in reality, in our lives where we've got kids or we've got lots of commitments like all of you do, that really doesn't happen. But that doesn't stop it. And so that's the real important part here is, you can go to your local restaurant and not spend a lot of money, but spend some time together. You can go for a walk. There's lots of things to do where you don't need to spend lots of money, but you can actually spend some time together. And for me, it's such a valuable stop point all the time, because you need to talk to each other. Yeah. And it only goes so far where you can chit chat about basics, but then you got to start talking more deeply about things that matter. And that's where you start to build and continue to grow that connection. And you sometimes kind of forget about that when you've got all these other things running around in your life. You kind of think, well, we had that awesome time before we got married, or, before we had this next big commitment, and now we're really focused on that, which is really important. But at the same time, the base of why you came together and who you are is actually the most important part that we often really forget about.
Yeah, very much. And I think when you have children, it's an added layer as well, Dan. I think, having conversations one-on-one with the children around, you can get to a deep conversation, but I think having conversations without the children around and not about the children is a huge thing, isn't it? Because, you know, our lives, especially when we had little tiny children, we, of course, when we went on dates, we spent quite a bit of time talking about, oh, this happened today. Whereas, you know, all that minutiae about the day-to-day stuff of having children. Whereas now we can have more conversations not about the children. We're talking about other things, and at a more deeper level when we do get that time.
Yeah, and like we also forced ourselves sometimes, you know, because our lives are so filled with kids, you know, dogs, and many other things. You kind of get wrapped around in those. So we were really focused on saying, you know what, in this next hour or 2 hours or whatever it is, we're actually not going to talk about those things. Let's talk a little bit about us.
Yeah.
And whether that's deep stuff or not, it just really changes up your thinking and your way of engaging.
Yeah.
And you get different conversation and different things. Otherwise, it feels like there's more pressure again. And the whole point of, you know, getting you back to engaging with each other is to have fun.
Yeah.
Like, just, you know, remember all those great times and all those, you know, awesome times where you used to focus just on yourselves all the time. Now you can't do that. But when you do have the opportunity, you've really got to reignite it and bring it back and make sure it's really there, because it's just so important, and it's so fun. Like, that's the part that makes your relationship so exciting, and you know what we wanted in our lives.
And I'm still learning stuff about you. You know, yesterday you told me you used to wear your hat like in a really cool way, not to you know, mess up your hair. Didn't know that about him, and probably wouldn't have known that day to day. You know, talking about the kids' sport, etc. So, you know, those kinds of things, you're always learning more about your partner, and all the funny things as well. So, you know, the first, I remember the first time that I went away from the kids by myself. I think I just went for a walk, and it was probably only 20 minutes, and I was absolutely terrified. Like when we first had our eldest, left him with Dan, it was fine. He was fine. Dan was fine. But in my head, that was really hard, you know, stepping outside my little newborn bubble and going out into the big wide world. And it was scary. But now I do it at the blink of an eye and a drop of a hat.
But I think it's also special, right? So for me, that was really exciting because that was my time and my test. And that's really important to have. And so I know it's hard. It was hard for you, and many of those steps have been hard. Going away was hard, and all those things, because you were thinking, this guy's hopeless. How the hell is he going to look after them for more than 20 minutes or an hour or whatever? But that's fun, you know. And I think it's also really exciting for me, because I guess it's a nod of your trust in me to say, I think he's got it covered, or you know what, it's probably going to be mayhem, but he'll sort it out somehow and make it work. And so that makes me feel good, and that makes me feel like, all right, I can make it happen. I can do it. Yes, you might be Superwoman, but I'm a normal guy, but I'll still make it work. And so it made me feel like, I can do it, and I will do it, and I'll make sure that it's really great so that we can keep doing that.
Yeah. And do you want to touch on anything else around the dating, you know, going out on dates or going away from the kids for that first time?
Look, I mean, for me, going away was awesome. You know, I think the ability to be able to switch off or switch to a different level from the mayhem of life to being able to go back to whether it's relaxing or things that you really care about and want to do, you know, whether it's walking in the bush or at the beach, you know, I love those things. So for me, it allows me to kind of connect and ground again. So I think it's really special. And then not only that, it then allows us just to be focused on us.
Yeah.
And so, and, you know, we're obviously find that difficult to do most days in and out. So I think it's a really important investment to really focus on. When they're young, when the kids are young, it's even more important.
It is.
You know, I think it's even more important. I think now that our kids are a little bit older, we even look back now and think, wow, we probably could have done that more, or we could have done that differently.
But it's such a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
Such a hard thing to, you know, find someone that you trust to look after your kids.
Yep.
And we have been very, very lucky. Since we moved to Canberra, we had a family who had older kids living next door to us, and it has been absolutely amazing because we knocked on their door, we got to know that family, and they became our babysitters, which was and that doesn't happen. Like, that's just 1 in a million chance of that happening. And but also, I know when we had our review at the beginning of last year, so our goal setting session, we kind of set the goal. We're going to be going on date nights. We're going to have to book in the babysitter. We're going to have to, you know, pardon me. We're going to have to book in some short trips away. And that was something that you directed. You were like, we need to book in these trips away, because we did a few the year before and we realized how amazing it was. And it was trips away together, but it was also trips away alone. Dan went on some trips alone, whereas I've always gone away with other people, and it's just something that we can do for ourselves, so that we come back and we feel like we can take it on a bit more. Do you reckon that?
Yeah, and I think I'll just talk a little bit about this, because I think most people don't do this. And
No.
yes, I'm different. So I went away for a weekend and I went on this great walk that I wanted to do for a long while down the south coast of New South Wales, which was spectacular. And most people thought, you know, well, why aren't you going with your mates or, you know, family, or doing something like that? And I deliberately didn't. I really wanted to just spend a bit of time investing in myself and just being out in the open, just clear my mind and, you know, just kind of reset. I think life gets you in this huge cyclone, and we're in this massive one, and it can really mess with your head, and it can mess with so many things, and you just need sometimes time. And so we talked lots about being together and that importance of that, but also really focus on yourself. And I know we've talked about that previously, but, you know, I went away for a weekend where I just focused on myself and I loved it. And I came back a completely different person, completely fresh. And I haven't needed to do that since, funny enough. But I've been thinking about it recently to say, yeah, I think I'm going to start to do that again and put something else on there to do that, because it just gave me a real level of freedom to do what I wanted, be who I wanted to be, and just enjoy life and really reassess and rethink and rejuvenate, ready to go again.
And to not have to worry about the day-to-day doldrums of, you know, boring, oh gosh, we got to get up, we got to get breakfast, we got to think about all these other things before we think about ourselves. And I think, you know, not having that pressure on you can really open up some creative ideas. It can open up your physicality. It can do a lot of things for your mental health. And I think it just all comes back to, and we've spoken about this before, Dan, self-care, looking after yourself, doing what you need to do, not all the time, but reaching out and saying, hey, Kristy, I need to go and do this. Okay, we'll book it in. And so then we have something to strive towards, and you know that that's coming, so that you can, you know, get yourself over the line, so that you know that you can use that as a reset. You can use it as a recalibration, and you can use it to refocus, I think, coming back into the family. And, you know, the kids are always really happy to see us when we get back, right? Or they're really happy to see you. I know that when I went to Singapore earlier in the year, you picked me up from you know, the bus from Sydney, and we went to school, and the kids were just so excited to see me. And you really feel the love massively when you go back after resetting, and you feel a renewed energy.
Now, do we feel guilty? I think this is such a great question to be asking on these, because I think as a parent and, you know, as a husband and many other roles that we all play, is you do feel guilty, and you particularly feel guilty at the start. I think before you go, you feel really guilty and you think, well, I'm being selfish. And I think about this lots, because I think, you know, I'll often get labeled as selfish, or, geez, he really focuses on himself. But we've talked lots about this. If you don't put yourself first, you don't get yourself in the right frame, well, you're no good to anyone.
Yeah, and we've done a whole session on it.
Yeah,
whole segment on it.
And I really keep that as my mandate. And so, yes, I feel guilty at the start, but once I've done it, I actually felt amazing afterwards. And exactly what Kristy said. So I just didn't do it. I just didn't step out. I think that's really difficult to do when you've got lots of commitments. So if you can do that, well, amazing. But I don't think it's something that's repetitive all the time. Oh, no. I think you really got to be planned out and really structured towards it. So the kids knew. The kids knew that I was going to be away. They knew that they were going to have fun with mum and do lots of other cool things, but I wasn't going to be around. And then I came back on Sunday afternoon, and we were ready to have fun and play and do all the great things that we do as a family. And I felt incredible.
Yeah.
And I
You
didn't
looked
feel
incredible.
guilty. I didn't feel guilty. So I felt guilty at the start before I went, but I felt less guilty at the end. What the beauty of that was is that now I'm not going to feel guilty next time I do it, because I know that, yes, there'll be a bit of a feeling at the start of, wow, should I not? Really, that's a bit selfish. But then I'll know at the end, yes, it is worth it.
Yeah.
So I will do that. And so I think that comes up us back to a really nice point of Rio de Janeiro. Can you believe it that we're here? And did we feel selfish about doing that?
Is it really bad to say that I did not feel guilty or selfish at all?
Of course not.
I think myself, and I think you did as well, we took it as an opportunity. And it was, Dan's cousin getting married to a woman from Brazil whose family are all here. It's not a thing that's going to happen every year. It's not a thing that's going to happen, I think it's a once in a lifetime.
Yep.
We went to a Brazilian wedding. We felt like we were part of the family, and it was absolutely incredible. And so many people said to us, "Oh my gosh, why are you going to Brazil?" And when we explained it, they were like, "Oh yeah, that's okay." And it's the most impossible place to get to from Australia. It's 27 hours in transit, but it was 100% worth it. Do you agree?
I totally agree. And I'm going to take this on a totally different angle. So I felt a little bit selfish in that we were putting a lot of effort on our parents. Kristy's parents were taking the first week, and then my parents the second week. And that's a huge ask when you've got 4 kids. And then you throw in cousins and other things happening with the wider family. I felt really guilty about that. But then I reframed and I thought, how special is it for our kids to be able to spend a week with their grandparents? And yes, it's big for their grandparents, and it's a huge ask, and it's a huge amount of effort, which we're totally thankful for. we can't thank you both enough, you all for that enough, sorry. But how special is it? And I remember when I had that with my grandparents, and I remember how great it was. I loved it. And you saw a different level of your grandparents. I was lucky I was the oldest child, so I saw more of that. But that is so amazing to be able to have that opportunity, and our kids are having it, and they're loving it. They're having a great time, and they're not hard most of the time. Sometimes they're difficult. Yes, we know that, but in general, they're really great, and they love the time with their grandparents. And, it's not a weekend. It's not when we're there. It's with them. It's their time, and it's really, really special. So, yes, I felt guilty, and yes, I can't believe how thankful and how lucky we are to have you all. But at the same time, I thought, how amazing is it for our kids? They're really, really living a great life. And, we're so fortunate to have that. Lots of people don't have that.
Yeah.
But there's lots of versions of that, isn't there?
There
like
is,
whether that's your brother, your sister, someone that you trust and that you know that they're good with. So that we're so lucky to have that part. There's a complete trust level where we know that they are as good parents as us.
Yeah.
So a lot of times better, probably. Let's be honest. So we know that they're going to be totally looked after. So we don't even have to worry about that part. That's a nothing for us.
Can I just chime in there? And it isn't just our parents who are taking this burden, not burden, but helping us out. It's our siblings as well, and our our nieces and nephews are all there. So it's been the whole family, really, hasn't it? We've got a lot of support, not only from our parents and friends. Like, yes, our eldest is going off doing some things with friends today, and we sorted that out, and the friends are being amazing. So we've got a really good support network, and I think that is so important. It doesn't necessarily, as you said, have to be a family. Just having a good friends, or really a good support system. It doesn't need to generally necessarily be family. I think that's an important thing to point out too, because some people don't have that opportunity. So I am going to twist it a little bit here, Dan.
Love the twist.
How does it feel for the kids? Because I was thinking about that this morning when I woke up, because the kids weren't that keen, were they? They were like, "Oh, why can't we come? It's so unfair. You get to go to another country." And that I think they were feeling I don't know, anxious about us going away, particularly our eldest. He was very, he wanted to talk to us. And he even said to me before we left, are we going to be able to talk to you? So we've spoken to them a couple of times via video, and they're having a great time. And I think it was just that uncertainty that, oh my gosh, you're going to a completely other country, and what if something happens and I need you? But we're, the great thing about the world now, we're so connected. Did you get the reactions from the kids, Dan?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're the same as us. So they have the same feelings.
Yeah.
And I think we often forget that. We often think that they're in a circle and we put them in this bubble of safety where, we help control so much. But at the end of the day, they're very similar to us.
Yeah.
And so those feelings of anxiety, worry, and all those other parts that we were talking about before with, should we go, should we not? I think they have similar feelings.
Oh, definitely.
And so, but again, they're feelings that you have when going into the unknown.
Yeah.
And we have those, they have those. But I know when we get back, they'll all say we had a great time. It was so much fun. We did so many special things. Yeah. And, our parents will look back on that time too as really, really special and hard, I bet, probably after they have a few drinks and relax for a few days afterwards. But they will really look back and say how nice it was. And I think back to when I was stayed with my grandmother and grandfather, how much they enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And how much I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And how much I thought it was special as well. So, I think that is definitely there. And, how do we deal with that and how do we manage that? Well, we talk about
long conversation.
We talk about it, don't we?
Yep.
We say, hey, I understand. I know you want to come, but you're doing something special and this is your holiday.
Yeah,
and this
exactly.
is what you're going to be doing and it's going to be amazing. And then kids are incredible. The resilience of them is amazing.
Yeah.
They get into it and they're away and loving it, loving life. And, when we called them last night, when we were speaking to mum and dad, we could only really speak to one or two because they were off playing and having too much fun and they wanted to speak to us for a second and they were off again.
Yeah.
So, and they were telling us about the fun things they were doing. Yeah. So, I think it dissipates very fast and that makes you feel so good. Yeah. But I think the beauty of what we've been talking about here is we've worked up to it. Yeah. We didn't just take a big jump and say, let's take 6 days away or whatever it is. No. We said, let's just do half a day.
Yeah.
Then let's do a lunch.
Yeah.
And then let's do a night away.
Yeah.
And then let's do a weekend. And that's really what it's about, is about building up that confidence to be able to say, you know what, actually, they're probably doing better.
Yeah.
By being away from us sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. One question I have for you, Dan. How does it feel traveling without children? Now that we've had children, we've traveled with children before. How does it feel? Is it different?
It is very different, very, very different. Look, I've been fortunate to have done a lot of travel prior to starting a lot of work, and when I just left school, and we've also done some travel together as well. So for me, it's such a fantastic feeling.
Yeah.
And we're able to do more, of course, without the kids.
Definitely.
We're able to do really different things. So I think coming to South America with kids at our age is very, very is not possible. First, cost-wise, it is really, really inordinate to go from Australia to South America. So that's a huge part. The time is also really difficult. So anyone who's doing that, hats off to you. You're incredible. But so I think, but it does feel really amazing. And not only that, I think the thing that has stood out to me all the time while being here is we felt so lucky and so privileged to be able to be here, to be with family here, and to be able to spend time together. I think we've done some things that we don't often do a lot of. We went to the gym together a few times. We've had breakfast together a lot. We've done things that we don't normally do at home because our lives are moving at different times. So how does it feel? It feels better than good. It feels out of this world, to be honest.
It's very true.
How does it feel for you?
Oh, amazing. We can do whatever we want, whenever we want. And it's amazing. Yeah. So, and I think we had a lot of people, I had a lot of people tell me, oh, South America's so dangerous. And I think I would have been more conscious of that if we'd had the kids, because, we're outnumbered. We have 4 kids. you know, it's like we have two kids, one child each. So that'd have been two children each. And, you know, I think I probably would, of course, I'm aware of the safety aspect here in Rio, but I think it would have been amplified. And I don't think I would have been able to relax. I would have had that heightened sense of worry, because that's what I do, right? And even, you know, we're able to go down to the beach and just lie on the beach, and we're able to go down to the pool and just lie in the pool. Whereas if we had kids here, and people are here with their kids, that's great, but it just adds a different layer. And even just traveling through an airport with children is hard. You know, when you only have one passport and one boarding pass you need to take care of, here you go, no worries, grab your bag, go through customs, you're done. Whereas with kids, it's, you know, getting everything ready, having four pieces, you know, 4 extra pieces of hand luggage, all those kinds of things. You know, it really adds up, and it really makes the experience a little bit different, let's say. Do you think?
Yeah, we were certainly talking. The pool's such a great example, because you see these couples sitting on the pool, just living an amazing life, and you think as parents, you think, wow, we're never going to be able to do that, because the kids will be running around, they'll be doing bombs in the pool, they'll be doing all these things that at a hotel is not normally preferred. So to be able to be that and be able to do that without all those other challenges that we have, although they're amazing, you know, we love them, it is nice to be able to say, let's do things that we want to do,
exactly,
that the kids won't do.
No.
You know, they're not going to really come to museums on multiple days.
Yes.
They'll like to do it once or sporadically, but not multiple days. They won't really want to walk through parks all the time. There's lots of things that we want to do that they just won't. So being able to do those and enjoy those is really, really special.
Do you reckon they would have liked that hike up to Christ the Redeemer the other day?
It would have been challenging for them, that's for sure. Some would have, some wouldn't have, but no, probably not.
It would have been a different experience, let's say that.
It definitely would have been. It really would have been. So I think some real important messages that we've talked about today. So I think test yourselves, whether that's the first time where you're away, you know, whether you've got kids or not, you know, going away is really an important step, but you know, it takes baby steps. It's not always you go and do the big thing straight away. So, you know, whether that's, you know, little walks away, that's lunches away, or anything like that, that just gives you opportunities to reframe and become you and focus on you. And then you can then build up to bigger things. So whether that's a night away or weekend away, for us, that's the resetting time, because it really does get beyond the date night that we talked about before, where it's 1 or 2 hours and then you're back again. The weekend away is really where you start to connect and build on what you've been developing for such a long time. And then that gets you to the awesome stage where, if you're crazy like us, you can say, yes, we will go on that trip and go to that wedding, which is a really long way away, but it is a once in a lifetime opportunity to be able to do that. And we've been fortunate. We've had now 2 of our cousins be able to do that, one in Australia and one overseas. And, you know, I think, it's such a big call, but it's so important. Like, you know, we care about family lots. And you would have heard that in everything that we talk about. You know, family to us is everything. And whether that's our immediate family or wider family. And it's so hard, you know, when you've got big families like us, our families are everywhere. And so you can't be at everything. But when there is those special times, I think being able to make as much effort as possible to be able to be there, it really helps you see what life is all about and why it's so important. And yes, it is crazy that we're here. It's been the most amazing time. I think we are loving it. I think to be at that wedding and celebrate with Stephen and Julia was a once in a lifetime opportunity that we are so thankful to our parents for being able to, and our families for allowing us to be able to do that. And we're so thankful for them for having us and being able to show us this absolutely incredible country and how good it is.
Definitely. Go Brazil. It's amazing.
Absolutely. Well, hopefully that helps a little bit today and helping you get an understanding of how we got here and what led up to it. And whether that's you or whether you're a different version of that, make sure you're investing in yourself.
Yeah.
Make sure you're investing in each other
Yeah.
and doing really cool things that excite you. You did that with your relationships before you had kids or before you made big commitments. Yes, they may be different and may look different today, but they're so important. So make sure you're doing them, because that's what makes relationships and partnerships exciting.
It is.
So when you're doing cool things together where you're like, how amazing is this?
Yeah.
How good is this? Oh gosh, I love you so much. This is cool. I'm so glad to be experiencing it with you.
And stepping outside your comfort zone. I think, that's been a big thing.
Absolutely.
For us.
My favorite thing.
That's Dan's favorite thing. It's not my favorite thing. So I think doing that as well, it pushes you and it changes you as a person. I think, I do take Dan's lead a lot on that. So thanks, Dan. Even this podcast is stepping outside my comfort zone. So,
but I think it's the confidence of each other, right? And I talked about that a little bit right at the start of this one, is that, you gave me confidence.
Yeah.
I give you it back, and we try and build that together.
Yeah.
And that's what partnerships are really all about. Sometimes you're the one who's the real confident one, and I've got to run along for the ride, and then oftentimes it's the other way.
Yeah.
But we make it work together, and the key here is we're going together.
Yeah.